a warm welcome to you. This is a mat-based class, very much on the emphasis of mindful approach, so quite a slow, gentle practice for about an hour. We usually start with a few minutes breath work, and then we'll go into the actual postures, the asanas as it's known, and then for the last 5 minutes we do a gentle breath-based relaxation, which you can do seated or lying down. And again, just make sure, like me, that you've got a yoga mat that's non-slip, ideally. I mean, you can use a towel, but of course the towel will move. So a couple of non-slip yoga mats, depending on how your knees are. So I've got two here. Space, like I've sort of moved my TV and moved my unit across. Space that you can take your arms out freely. And so that when you take your legs back in a pose, you're not going to be worried that you're going to slip or fall or go into the furniture. So a safe space, physically, mentally, emotionally. Make it a space that you like working in and that suits you for the practice, okay? A nice area in a room. And then maybe some water, if you've got some issues around sort of dehydration, because I know we often think, oh, we're not really moving in a yoga practice, particularly a mindful practice, which is slightly slower than a conventional class. We may not think we're working our bodies, but we still need to hydrate. So just having some warm water or some herb tea or some cold water to hand is a good idea. Again, loose fitting clothing. I've got obviously something long on today, but underneath this I've got loose fitted layers. And layers are great because as you get warm throughout the practice, you can gently take them off. But the looser the clothing, the more comfortable you will be, and thereby you're going to enjoy the practice and be comfortable physically. Okay, so welcome. What we'll start with is sitting down and just doing a few deep breathing exercises to arrive in the space. Now, what you can grab, if you don't have a yoga block, and this is one that I've got, off eBay for a few pounds. It's all recycled rubber, so it's very green, and it's actually quite comfortable once you've sat on them for a few months, okay? But a cushion is fine, so you can always go and grab a cushion. So what we'll do, put some lights on there so you can see. Grab your cushion. Now I've got my mat quite close to the wall. And the reason I want you to get quite close to the wall if you can, is so that, like me, you can sit and prop yourself up against the wall, okay? So propping yourself against the wall is a really good idea. And I know I seem a long way away, but don't worry, that's so that you can see exactly the postures, okay? Now, I'm going to sit cross-legged. If you find cross-legged just doesn't suit you, it's uncomfortable, or your knees don't like it, then again, by the wall with the spine nice and tall, by the wall, you can, of course, sit with the legs extended. So there's always an option. And you can do this also seated in a chair. So if you've got your favourite armchair nearby and you prefer to sit for the breathing exercise, then absolutely fine. Go and sit on a chair if you prefer. The main thing is that your spine is tall. So I'm using the wall as a prop. And again, if you're on a chair, you can sit tall in the chair and keep the spine as erect as you can, but comfortably so. So all we're going to do is just take a few minutes here to arrive in the space. My hands are going to just rest gently on my knees. And really just by having my hands on my knees, I'm earthing down. I can just push them gently, the palms into the knees, and feel that sense of being a little closer to the earth, knowing that she can take my weight, the mass of the body, and feeling quite grounded here, not too far from the earth. Very actually settling pose if you're feeling overwhelmed or anxious. This is a really calming and quietening pose, either with the legs extended or crossing the ankles, sitting cross-legged if you can. Take a moment again to sit as tall, make sure you're comfortable, and join me in closing the eyes gently. And we're going to close the mouth and breathe gently through the nostrils for about 6 slow breaths, okay? So all I want you to do is close your eyes and your mouth if you can, and begin to focus on the inhalation as you breathe in, and the exhalation as you breathe out. So in essence, what we're doing at this early stage of the practice is we're following the breath. Breathing in softly and gently, and breathing out fully without strain. Allow your spine to sit tall against the wall or chair if you can. Allow your shoulders to relax away from your ears. And simply allow your awareness as best you can to settle on your breath. And I'd like you to take, along with me, 5 more slow breaths. 5 slow breaths. 5 more in your own time. Allowing your belly to be soft and your awareness simply to rest on your breathing as you gently breathe in and breathe out. Let's take another deep breath in and out here together. And when you're ready, gently open the eyes back into the room and give yourself a moment just to come back. Notice how you feel physically. Just a few minutes there, allowing ourselves to settle the awareness on the breath and just to relax and come into the space we call mindful yoga, and the space you're going to definitely share with me for the next 50 minutes. Okay, well done, yogis. And again, just remember that can be done sitting in the chair for a few minutes, just stretching the legs out now, but that can be done pretty much anywhere. It's such a versatile little tool, isn't it? And it's a wonderful way, just taking 5 or 6 slow breaths to draw your awareness to the breath. Incredibly good if we feel anxious or if we feel a little beside ourselves. We can just bring the awareness to the breath. And every time we do that, it does become a little easier with practice. So do persevere if you can. Do it as many times a day as you need to, just for a few minutes, as often as you need to, almost as a course of treatment for getting to know our breathing and to just get a little closer to it. So yogis, I'm coming off my block, maybe you are as well, your cushion. Place that to one side, away from your mat. And we're just going to do a few exercises to warm and energize the spine, okay? So what I'd like us to do, I call them spinal warm-ups, is to sit cross-legged again, if you can, and holding on. So what I have my right ankle in front. Now I'm going to profile myself to the side so you can see this. Holding on to my right ankle with both hands. And all I'm going to do is breathe in. And can you see I've got my elbows bent and I'm looking forwards. Breathe out and I straighten the arms. Just draw the chin in slightly towards the throat. Arms are straight and I can feel my back working. Breathing in again. Elbows are bent, looking forwards. Breathing out, keeping the head and neck pretty much the same, except for just a little tilt there as I drop the chin in towards the throat and elbows are straight. Inhale here, exhale chin to chest. And we're going to do about 10 of those, so let's go. Breathing in, looking forwards, relax the elbows, lift the sternum, exhale chin to chest and straightening the arms, holding onto the front ankle so you can straighten those arms with care. Let's go, breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. It's almost like you were riding a horse or a camel. Slow motion. Slowing the movement right down. Inhale and exhale. We're going to do 5 more. Breathing in and breathing out is 1 round. So 4 more now. Inhale here. Exhale chin to chest. Breathing in, it's a very smooth movement, so slow it right down if you need to. Go a little faster if you wish to, but know that this is the first final warm-up we're doing, so take care, don't rush it. I'm going to do one more to finish with. Here we go, one more. Inhale, look forwards. Exhale, chin to chest. And then come back to the centre and relax. Good. Now stretch your legs out if you can. Just give them a little shake. And we're now going to move on to some waist rolls. And this is really good for sending energy and heat into the mid-spine. So I want you to cross the legs over again, but this time have your left ankle in front if you can. So left ankle in front of right, holding onto the knees, and again, aiming to keep the spine as tall as you can. Now I want you to imagine or visualize that you're stirring a pot with your waist, stirring a big bowl of soup, maybe a big pot of soup. So the elbows are bent, and I'm just moving the waist, stirring the pot. Now, it doesn't matter whether these waist rolls feel a little bit odd or awkward at the beginning. I just want you to very gently stir the pot, as if you were stirring a big vat of soup with your waist. And that's what they are, they're waist rolls, really. Yes, that's it. Stirring the pot. Excellent, yes. So just little circles. Now you can, of course, make them deeper as you go on. I'm going to do one more in this direction. Now I'm going to change the direction, stirring the pot, waist rolls in the opposite direction now. So I go from left to right now, nice and slowly. And it is a wonderful way to warm the spine up on a cold autumnal morning, or afternoon in our case. I think it's still just about autumn, isn't it? But it's feeling a lot cooler. This is warming and energizing the spine. Just do one more if you can, and then come to stillness. Good. And that sends a flood of warmth and energy up into the mid-back. Okay, yogis, we're going to move on now and just do one more for the spine. I'll profile myself again to the side, so I think it's useful for you to see the movement. So just crossing the legs over the other way now, so right ankle in front of left, and this time hands on the knees, okay? So this is more an upper spine flex. And what happens here, the mid-spine, the upper spine is more flexed, the digestion is stimulated, and energy is circulated into the mid and upper back, okay? So our hands are resting on our knees. Inhaling, I'm going to bend the knees, and this time I look forwards and slightly up. I'm looking slightly above my eye level and ahead. And as I exhale, chin to chest, and again you can see straight arms. And I'm breathing in again, looking slightly up and forwards, lifting the chin very slightly. Exhale, holding onto the knees, chin to chest, and really getting that lovely arch in the spine. And we keep going, breathing in, breathing out. It's a nice easy pose, grabbing the knees with the hands so that they support you as you go back. Inhale, pull the body gently forwards and up. Exhale, shoulders again you can see coming in, rounding the spine, chin to chest. Focus your awareness on the area in the mid to upper spine, yogis, if you can, through, into and through the shoulder blades. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, chin to chest, rounding. Keep the elbows straight if you can. And each vertebrae very gently being flexed as you move. That's the beauty of this. Inhale deeply. Exhale fully. Let's do 4 more rounds slowly. Breathing in. And you can go and do this for between 1 and 2 minutes. We're doing everything for about between 1 and 2 minutes today. Okay. We'll do 2 more. Here we go, yogis. A breath in and out is 1 round. So we have 1 more round to do together. And then we'll relax the breath. Inhale, lift. Exhale. Good. Okay. And from here, let's come back to the central position and relax. Relax the breath. Just notice if the shoulders feel a little looser, perhaps the upper and mid back feeling warmer. Always good to have a little pause there, yogis. And then, of course, do stretch those legs out again. Every time we come into these poses, as we come out, we just want to sort of soften and release the legs, particularly if cross-legged isn't something you do very often. And let's face it, many of us find that position quite challenging. So you only do it for a few moments, a minute or two, then come out and straighten. And then when you go back into the pose, and this is going to be the last time we cross the ankles over, it won't feel so harsh. So left ankle is over right again. And we're just going to do something that's very, very good for the spine again. Helps to loosen and adjust the spine. I think that's very useful if we're doing more sitting, if we're maybe doing more work on our tablets and computers. So this loosens the vertebrae and self-adjusts the spine. And we're going to take our fingers to our shoulders, elbows out to the side, sitting tall if we can. And by all means, sit on a cushion if that helps. And we're going to inhale and twist to the left gently. And exhale, twist to the right. Breathing in mindfully from side to side, going at the pace that suits you. Inhale. Exhale from side to side. Aim to keep the spine tall and move with your breath. There's no rush here. Breathing in, breathing out. Fantastic. Let's keep going if we can. Helping to adjust the spine, to soften tightness in the vertebrae. Inhale, exhale. Let's do one more to each side, breathing in and breathing out, and come back. Well done, yogis. Release the hands. Do roll your shoulders back just to loosen them. Notice if the spine is again just feeling a little more adjusted, a little less tight, maybe a little bit more flexion there. And again, shake the legs out. One more, I assure you, just one more pose that we're going to do seated. And my right leg's going to be over my left ankle again. And we're going to go into a twist. So this is the last of the seated work today. And then we're going to come and do some other work. So you're going to take your right hand to your left knee. Right hand to left knee. And with your left hand, take it behind you and form a tripod. So again, if I profile myself to the side, right hand on left knee, left arm behind, and I actively turn the fingers away to open up the wrist joint, and that helps to open that shoulder further. Now what I don't want to do is this. I don't want to sort of slump. So drawing the arm in and then gently twisting and looking over the left shoulder as far as you comfortably can, but keeping the height in the spine. And I'd like you to hold that for 4 slow breaths per day. There's a seated twist, and because we've done our spinal warm-ups now, we're ready for this. Our spine feels a little more open, a little bit more flexion and heat, and not so tight now. So another deep breath in and out if you can. And when you're ready, use the inhale and exhale, come back to the center. Just relax those muscles. And we're going to switch sides. So, staying still with the right ankle in front if you can. Take your left hand to your right knee, yogis, and your right hand behind you. Turn the fingers away. So by that, we're just turning the wrist out slightly, palm or fingers touching the mat behind you. Again, just be mindful to keep the spine tall, looking somewhere over that right shoulder without straining the neck. 4 slow breaths. And twisting very much from the low belly, observing those left and right differences in our own bodies as we breathe. And we're going to breathe in together. And we're going to exhale and come back to the center. And then just rolling the shoulders back. Give the back muscles a moment to settle, a moment to relax. Relaxing the breath. And then again, it may feel nice to just shake those legs out. Your arms are behind you, shake the legs out, give them a little shake. Because sitting cross-legged, after a while, it is strong, great for the knee and hip joint, but not easy. But if you could manage those spinal movements every single day for a few minutes, just a few minutes, even if you just did maybe the stirring of the pot and sort of rocking backwards and forwards, that first movement, you'll have warmed and energized the spine, particularly relevant if you do a lot of sitting at a desk, okay? They really open up and warm the spine. They're so useful. And just remembering that even when it's cold, specifically when it's cold, of course, we still need to energize the body even more so that we don't get those tight spots in the spine. Well, I said we were going to move into a different position. You'll be pleased to know we're not going to sit cross-legged yogis. We're going to come onto all fours. Now, before we do this, let me just open that, madam. So, here we go. I come onto all fours. Okay, so I want you to take the hands slightly further forwards. Now, it's said that the index finger is the brain of the hands. It's sort of where all the work comes from. So I want you to really push your index finger into the mat. Open the fingers. Envisage spreading the weight across the hands and the fingers as best you can. And take the hands a little further forward so they're not directly underneath the shoulders. And this limits the pressure that we put on the wrists. It's not quite so loading. So I come into or onto all fours and I tuck the toes under. Okay, so you can either have the feet flat or you can tuck the toes under. It's really a personal preference. Find which works for you. Find out which one you prefer. And then we're going to do our cat-cows. We're going to start slowly and mindfully, arching the spine, and we're breathing in, pulling the tummy muscles in here. And as I inhale, I want to lift the sternum and chest, looking forwards. Hello, tiger. And as I exhale, I arch the spine, pull the tummy muscles in softly. And I inhale. Now, what's key here is that my arms are straight. As I look forwards and lift the sternum and heart region, I'm not keeping anything but the elbows straight. I'm just being careful of my neck. Exhale, pull the tummy muscles in, get a lovely stretch, keep the elbows straight. Inhale. So what I'm trying to do here is find my own rhythm. I could go a little faster, but I don't feel I need to yet. And I want you to go at the pace that very much suits you, yogis. Just taking care not to flip-flop your head. Smooth movement. In your own time, bearing in mind we all breathe differently and everybody's spine reacts quite differently to the breath. So you may want to slow it down even further. You may want to go a little faster than me, and that's fine. Just remember that we're inhaling as we lift sternum and look ahead. Exhale, pull the tummy muscles in very softly if you wish to engage your core. I'm going to do 4 more rounds. So a breath in and out again, yogis. Is 1 round. 4 more slowly. In your own time. What a wonderful way to continue to warm the spine, to energize and to loosen it. Remember, we're not bending the elbows. Keep the arms as straight as you can. Last one, yogis. Let's do 1 more together. Here we go. Inhale. Last time I want you to exhale. And then carefully just sit back for a moment. Just sit back. Particularly if you find you've loaded the wrists, what we'll now do is we'll just make some small little circles. First in one direction and then the other, and that helps to unload the wrist joints, particularly after that last exercise, and also to prepare you for the next one, which is going to be downward facing dog, isn't it, Tiger? Yes. Okay, so what we're going to do in this inversion is just feel our way. And we'll go into it gently, just maybe for 5 breaths, but you can come into it for less if you want to, entirely up to you. So, I come back onto all fours. Remember, yogis, index finger is said to be the brain of the hand, so very much igniting the weight into the index finger, but all fingers in fact. Spread the weight evenly across them. And we want to load the palms very much with this exercise. Now what I've done is tuck my toes under and making sure my knees and feet are apart. And I can reach back, so you can see I'm pushing my bottom back a little bit to further emphasize the stretch of my fingers. I want the index fingers, the brains of the hands to work, but equally spread the weight across the hands. I'm going to inhale, raise my hips, and rather than focus on pushing my heels down, I simply want to focus on taking them back rather than down. And I'm going to walk the dog. So I'm going to pad one heel back and down as I breathe in, and pad the other heel back and down as I breathe out. My arms are strong, weight evenly distributed through the fingers. Inhale, exhale. That's it. Gaze towards the thighs, and keep your ears, if you can, in alignment with the inner elbows. Wonderful. Keep going. That's it. Don't worry if the heels are nowhere near the floor. Focus on them coming back rather than down. Relax the head and neck. Let's just simply stay for one more deep breath in and out here. And then carefully come back onto all fours. Well done, yogis. Now sit back for a moment. Bring the hands into the prayer position. And closing the eyes, allow yourself just a moment to connect back with your breathing. Open the fingers wide and just allow yourself a moment here with your breath to reconnect, having that mindful moment with your breathing. Reconnecting, allowing the breath a moment simply to settle as you observe it. And as you exhale, simply release. And what a nice way just to encapsulate halfway through our practice, midway, to just reconnect and draw the awareness back to that breath. After all, the breath is your food. It very much nourishes the system and it feeds you well. If you take these little bite-sized chunk breaks, it feeds us well for the next pose. Now the next pose is going to be a forward standing bend, and this can be done even if you have a low back vulnerability, like me. Maybe your low back is sometimes sorer than other days, and that can be from periods of sitting, or if you're doing a lot of gardening or walking, or perhaps moving stuff around the house. In lockdown times, we might very much be much more in the house, so we're doing more maybe around the house. So we have to take care of our low back, and that's why the next pose I'm going to teach you and guide you through is very much a pose that can be done by anybody, even if you have low back vulnerabilities. But of course, if you do have a low back issue, you're going to take it very carefully. Okay, so what we're going to do is come back into downward dog, which is the inversion we did earlier. And we're just going to stay there for 1 to 2 deep breaths and then transition up into the forward bend, and I'll teach you how. So let's come back onto all fours. Again, separate the knees and feet hip width apart. Use that index finger again, the brain of the hands, press it into the floor and spread the weight evenly across the hand. And tireless as it may be, it's worth just remembering to spread the weight across the hands and feet every time you go into something like a downward dog, because it repositions and it just reminds us how important a pose it is. And if we can get it right, we're going to really enjoy it and get much more out of the pose. So let's go up,
Breathe in, raise your hips, come back into that inversion shape, gaze towards the thighs, relax the head and neck. And again, if the heels don't come down, please don't worry. You can, of course, keep the knees bent if you need to. Focus on bringing the heels back rather than down. Let's enjoy another deep breath here. Now start to walk your feet carefully towards your hands. Feet slightly apart. And I want you to grab hold of alternate elbows for me, like I'm doing. So holding on to alternate elbows. Now your knees might need to stay bent if you're very tight in your hamstrings, that's fine. But as you allow the crown of the head to very much sink to the earth, see if it's possible to straighten the legs a little bit. We're working the backs of the legs here. Great stretch for our hamstrings. Holding on to alternate elbows as I allow the crown of the head to sink down further towards the floor, towards the earth. And I'm breathing fully and deeply into the backs of the legs. And I'm letting those elbows, just hold on to them, but I can feel my shoulders and gravity taking control. Please keep the knees bent if you have low back vulnerabilities. Knees need to stay bent if your back is sore or slightly vulnerable. Otherwise, straighten the legs, but don't lock the knees, yogis. And we hang out here for 4 slow breaths. Again, use the base of the toe to anchor down, evenly spreading the weight across the right and the leg, foot. So spreading the weight evenly across your feet. Nice, deep, even breath here, yogis. Don't suspend the breath or even sort of half breathe. Breathe long, deep, even breaths into your body. Feed the system. Now, the best way to come out of this safely is to purposely bend the knees and rest the chest if you can on the knees. Relax the hands, release the hands. Let's roll up slowly, slowly. Keep the knees bent. Just really slowly, leisurely enjoy the journey upwards. Chin is tucked in. A slow, leisurely journey all the way to standing. Now, when you come to standing, we're going to practice now Tadasana, the mountain pose. And I would like to add a very nice affirmation here. And the affirmation, which is one from my lovely book, is so nice. It's just a way of really bringing home how we can use this pose to feel more grounded and more centered. So if we're feeling anxious, if we're finding that we have a flood of thoughts and we're not feeling great some days, then standing, maybe even looking outside a window towards nature, whether it's your back garden or a tree in the park, can be a wonderful way just to anchor and feel a little bit more calm and centered. So let's take the feet just hip width apart or together. It's entirely up to you, whichever's more preferable to you and your body. Toes, ankles, feet facing forwards, just making sure they are. And then open the toes, spread them wide, particularly the base of the big toe. That's our sort of anchor. So spreading the toes wide and taking them back down to the earth. And letting the care of the earth and the weight of the earth take the feet. I want you to turn the palms forwards. So this opens up the shoulders. It helps to drop and open up the collarbone area. And it's just a way of releasing tension in the upper body. We're open and receptive. Now the affirmation, and I'm just going to repeat this. I feel the ground and support of the earth with space to move freely from firm roots. So gaze ahead, anchor down and spread the weight evenly across your feet. Drop the shoulders and just soften the face if you can as you gaze ahead. Let me remind you again of the affirmation. I feel the ground and support of the earth with space to move freely from firm roots. The roots are our legs, rooting into the earth. And either closing the eyes or softly gazing ahead, allowing the jaw and the face muscles to relax. Repeat to yourself once more that affirmation, and I'll repeat it with you as well. I feel the ground and support of the earth, with space to move freely from firm roots. Enjoy 3 slow breaths here, yogis. Firm, steady roots, moving freely. Feeling the weight and support of the earth underneath the feet, providing us with all the nourishment and strength we need. And if your eyes were closed, taking a deep breath in now with me, and gently opening them and relaxing the hands. And as I said, that can be done with the affirmation anytime you need to. Just a few minutes gazing out towards nature, perhaps even performing it first thing in the morning in your garden, gazing towards a tree or your favourite part of the garden. And it really is so anchoring and very steadying. So do try that whenever you need to. It's also a wonderful way for us to bring back the awareness to our posture. From head to toe, we can think good postural alignment here. And with the palms open, it just helps to open and energize this upper region, which again is prone to tightness and stress if we're anxious, and just reminds ourselves to stand tall. Okay, yogis, well done. We'll go back to another pose I'd like us to do now, and that's going to be a nice balance. And I'll come back to Vrikasana today, the tree. The tree is so steadying. And again, if you're privileged enough to have a tree near to your house or in your garden, then just taking your awareness and staring at the tree and performing this is a wonderful way to feel anchored, and of course using that tree as a way of helping you with the posture itself. So tree pose, let's do that together now. From Tadasana then, we want to find a sort of steady focus, perhaps looking forwards out of the garden, out towards our garden, or if you've got, like me, just a plain wall, finding a point of focus on the wall. And what I'm going to do is take the weight into the left leg. The right leg is the leg I'm going to be balancing. So I'm going to very carefully bring the sole of the right foot to rest on the inner left calf and bring my hands into the prayer position. I've opened my fingers wide to accentuate the energy center there as I place the sides of the thumbs near to my heart center. And this means that I can focus on breathing from this heart space, but also a way of steadying the hands by pressing them gently. I could take the elbows out to the side, and if I wanted to, I could bring the sole of that foot all the way up, using the wall again, bringing the foot to the inner groin area, the inner thigh, and hands here, and finding my stillness, what we call in yoga the drishti, the inner focus, whether that's ahead of you or on the floor. And what I wanted to say to new people today is if you go towards the wall, you can use the hands to hold onto the wall, one hand on the wall to steady you, or you could use the back of a heavy back chair to hold onto, which is a wonderful way to start. So finding your focal point, whether you're holding onto the wall, a chair, or freestyle, and letting it go. And like me, you may find you just wobble. It's in the very nature of your balances. So let yourself go gently as you fall. And we're going to try that on the other side. And what we want to do is breathe into your focus point to balance. So whether it's a pattern on the floor, whether it's a picture on the wall, a speck of dust that you've noticed on the floor, why not use that pattern, that point of focus ahead of you, and breathe into it. And try your Vrikasana pose on the opposite side. One bent knee. Now I've got the foot, as you can see, on the inner calf. but you can take it further up to the inner thigh, whatever feels comfortable. Use a wall to steady you if you need to, or the back of a heavy chair, whatever works. Find that focal point, and particularly with the standing leg, anchor the big toe down. Use that foundation in the big toe. Breathe and hold. And with mindful yoga again, you aim to hold the poses a little longer, a mindful approach, but when you start to get heavy and tired in that leg, come back to Tadasana. Relax the face. And again, rooting down, find your firm roots and breathe. Aim to take another deep breath here in your own time. And relax. Well done, yogis. And now, because this is a mindful practice, we're actually going to reverse and come back down. So we're going to come back down into that forward bend, from there into downward dog, a moment sitting with our breath again, and then we'll go into a lovely pose of the child before going into a nice spinal twist, maybe time for a bridge, and 5 minutes in relaxation and rest. So we've got about 10-15 minutes to go. So let's go. So if you can, I'll profile myself to the side again. Bend the knees. If you have lower back issues, keep your knees bent, feet hip width apart, holding on to the alternate elbows. Let's roll down, so soft knees, all the way down, and keep those knees soft if you need to. Allow yourself to hang out here again. Start to straighten the legs only if that's comfortable. We're taking the awareness here today, but if your back is bad, soft knees, keep them bent, remember. Holding on to alternate elbows. The crown of my head wants to come towards the earth, letting gravity very much take control. So I'm going to have a little micro bend in my knees, that feels nice. Straighten the legs only if your low back feels strong enough to cope and to deal with that, otherwise they remain slightly bent. And even more bent again, if you have back vulnerabilities, do please take care. Nice deep even breath here, yogis. We're going to hold that for 2 more slow breaths if you can. Allow the head to relax as best you can, head and neck relax. And then letting the hands go, hands come towards the floor, and they come down onto all fours. And that's a really safe way to come down. And from there, back into downward dog. So, tucking the toes under, pushing my buttocks back towards my heels so I can open the fingers and spread the weight evenly across them, knees and feet apart. I'm going to raise my hips, bring the feet to hip width apart. Do keep your knees bent if you need to, remember. The arms are strong. My gaze is towards my upper thighs, and we can walk the dog again, perhaps padding one heel back as we breathe in, and the opposite heel back as we breathe out. Let's aim to take 3 more slow breaths here if we can. If you're feeling tired, then by all means come down onto all fours and relax. Now my last deep breath is again, just for me, pressing the front of the thighs back to exert the stretch in my hamstrings. You can do the same if you wish to. If you don't want to, simply coming down now and sitting back on the heels, big toes touching. We bring our hands back to the prayer position, opening the fingers wide, And either closing the eyes or looking forwards gently. A moment to reconnect with our breath, to pause, to observe the physical sensations we may not be feeling in our body, but just a moment with our breath. A moment to pause. A moment to simply be. Be aware of all and any sensations, no matter how subtle they may be in your body, yogis. Just reconnect for a moment with your breathing. And when you're ready, open the eyes and simply relax the hands on your legs. So yogis, we're going to open the knees wide now and go into a very nurturing balasana, pose of the child. And my big toes are touching, my knees are apart, so my belly has a chance to breathe and be soft. And we're just going to do a gentle stretch forwards. Elbows are going to be bent, palms pressed down, fingers open, and forehead towards the floor. And if you can't get your forehead towards the floor, yogis, don't worry. Just grab your block or cushion and rest your forehead on your block, elbows bent, so quite a soft approach to this pose. And we'll take 5 deep breaths. If your forehead can touch the floor, allow it to. A great stretch for the spine. A wonderful way again, just to evoke a little quiet, calm communication with your body. Bending the elbows is a great way just to soften what can be a strong pose, because you can, of course, straighten the arms. But we want to evoke a little softness here. One more deep breath in and out. And then start to raise the head, walk the hands back to the body, and bring the knees in. Now we're going to go into almost one of our last poses, because I'd like to leave a couple of minutes, as I said, for relaxation. So we're going to lie down and we're going to do a very nice little twist here. And this is wonderful to release the low back. You can, of course, feel free to move if it doesn't feel right. So we're going to bend the legs and just align the outer edges of the feet with the edges of our mat. So the mat's quite wide. I'm going to align the outer edges of my feet with the outer edges of my mat. I'm then going to take my right knee down and my left knee down. So my right knee is off the floor. I lie down, the right knee and the left knee both down to the right, and legs wide because they're on the outer edges of the mat. And then bend your elbows like a cactus at the elbows with the palms facing the ceiling like me, looking up towards the ceiling, and close the eyes if you can. So I bent my elbows and they've made this sort of cactus shape, palms facing the ceiling, legs over to the right. And I've aligned the outer edges of my feet with the outer edges of my mat. Quite a deep stretch, but we stay there for at least 3 deep breaths, a wide-legged twist. Taking some deep breaths here. And don't worry if the left knee doesn't touch the floor, or if the right knee doesn't either. Now I want you to inhale, bring the knees back up, keep them as wide apart as your mat if you can, and carefully take them over to the other side. Keep the knees wide, elbows again bent in that cactus-like shape with our arms, and hold for 3 or 4 deep breaths on this side. Again, what's useful to note in your own body, a little sort of inquiry, just notice if the left and the right side of your body in this twist do feel physically different. Perhaps you find one side of your spine or low back tighter than the other. And without judgment, just observe those physical differences as best you can. Lovely work, yogis. Let's bring the knees back up now. And a nice way to counter pose is to draw the knees in and carefully wrap the arms around the outside of the knees and just gently rock. That's it, just gently rock from side to side. This head to knee pose, knee to chest pose rather, is very soothing and allows the sides of your spine to be massaged gently. The low back and the sides of the spine. So it's just a gentle rock there. Now we're going to come to our last pose of this sequence before we go into relaxation. But just take another deep, restful breath here in knee to chest pose. Enjoy nurturing and massaging your spine. Rocking is another comforting and, as I say, nurturing quality that just adds a sense of smoothness to this mindful practice, ensuring that we are taking the best possible route to good self-care. So now I'm going to separate my knees about hip width apart and come into bridge pose, what's known as Setu Bandha Samangasana, and we call it the bridge pose. Now, this pose is quite strong. It's one we often finish with, but what I love about the bridge is it's, again, a great way to explore your spine, because with an easy breath, we can lift the chest and soften the heart and the face, and we can sort of roll and be aware of the spine, opening the front of the spine and the back of the spine. Sometimes people like to add the breath and the arms up and down as you breathe, but we're just going to turn the palms uppermost for this version to again get that soft effect in the chest. So let's go. So our feet are apart, our knees are bent, keeping the knees and feet exactly where they are. Tuck your chin in so the back of the neck remains long. And then, like me, take your arms away from the body with your palms facing uppermost. So palms facing the ceiling. Keeping the chin tucked in, let's start to roll the spine gently, vertebra by vertebra, off the floor, off the mat. So here we go, breathing in, raise the hips slowly. Now at this point, just double check that you've spread the weight across the feet and engage that big toe in the floor. Okay, really press the big toe, the brain of the foot, into the floor. And then raise the hips up, chin tucked in. Bring the hips up as far as you can without straining. Press the backs of the hands and arms into the floor. Palms facing uppermost, so a very receptive pose. And hold that for as long as you can, between about 3 and 6 breaths, if you can. Again, lovely, even, fluid breath as you breathe. Good. 1 or 2 more deep breaths if you wish to. And then start to descend. As you exhale, start to descend slowly back down, vertebra by vertebra, all the way down to the mat. Really leisurely and slowly. Good. Take a resting breath. Let your whole spine pause. Let the spine settle. And again, just for a moment, hug the knees in, rock gently, soothe the spine. Take a couple of deep, restful breaths here if you can. And then very gently roll out onto your right side if you can, and come up to sitting. Well done, yogis. Now, we've got about 3 or 4 minutes left, and I'd like us very much to go into relaxation pose, if that's all right with you. And we're just going to do a little relaxation, okay? So let's get comfortable, and we're going to do a little relaxation, all right? And I've got so many I could teach you from my lovely book, but I think we'll do the body scan. Yeah, so let's do that. So I want you to lie down, get comfortable. I'm going to sit against the wall so that I can read this to you. And again, it's just a few minutes, a simple version of what we call the body scan in yoga, but with affirmations that can be used to bring about stillness to the body, whether the body is agitated or the mind-body agitated, or if you're just wanting to totally relax after that practice, which I hope you are. So it's a mindful practice where we're going to scan the body. So do lie down and join me for the last few minutes of the practice. Make sure you're warm and comfortable. Of course you can sit like me, but again, just make sure that you're propped up against a wall or the back of a chair or sofa, and that you're warm and comfortable. And then lying or sitting comfortably, closing the eyes, closing the mouth, and bringing your awareness back to your body and your breath. And just moving through the following places in your body with a very steady focus, saying all or just a few of the phrases inwardly to yourself. So as I say the areas, you can repeat them inwardly to yourself.